you folks introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Cindy Watts.
Ron Watts.
Thank you. And I have authorized you to make a statement to the court as paternal grandparents of the children. And if you choose not to make a statement, but your designee, Ms. Powers, chooses to, she can do so as well. How would you like to proceed
Can
today?
I read that?
Yeah, do you want me to start?
I want you to start, but I would like to read
Who's going to be speaking today?
Your Honor, initially, they've asked me, and they're hoping that they have the strength to speak, but if they do not, they've written out their statements and asked me to finish for them. So,
That would be fine. Who would like to go first?
if I could start, Your Honor. On behalf of the Watts, Your Honor, and to the community, we thank you for the opportunity and the recognition under the Victim Bill of Rights. We come today as the grandparents and the parent of the daughter and children whose life was taken in this case. We are not here to ask for leniency. We are not in any way condoning or tolerating the crime that has occurred and the pain that has been caused. We join in our daughter-in-law and grandchildren's family in saying this should never have happened. This is not condonable. This is something that we will never get over. We appreciate the consideration that everyone has paid, most especially the families that have lost everyone. We appreciate that they begged for Christopher's life. We agree and echo what they have said, that it is not his place to take anyone's life, nor would it be our place as a community to take his life. So we thank you for the opportunity and for every consideration and effort that's been put out. The prosecution in this case has in fact respected the Victim Bill of Rights. They took the time to explain that the information that my clients had at the time that they were interviewed was not correct. They were misinformed. They were searching for answers. They were not intending to cause any pain to anyone, and they appreciate that the prosecution answered their questions and gave them the time and the respect and the consideration so that they could tell this court and everyone in this community that the interview content was not their message, that they accept that their son has done this, that they accept that he chose to plead guilty, that he sought and requested their consent and agreement for a life sentence. They appreciate that he is given the opportunity to serve that life sentence. It is his responsibility, it is his sentence, and it is not enough to make up for what has done. We understand and we join the family in that we have questions. We don't know how such a thing could possibly happen, or that a man that was responsible for raising his children and protecting his wife would take the steps that he did, and that he would disregard their bodies and the love that he had for them and they had for him and everyone else, and take the gestures and put this community through the investigation and the discovery and the responsibility of bringing justice. We do not understand that. We do not think it was appropriate. We cannot begin to think that an explanation will ever justify it. My clients indicate that they understand that a full opportunity for a confession with all of the responsibility and accountability has not occurred. And they support the family and the request that that happen, if not today, at an appropriate time, in an appropriate manner, so that everyone can have peace, to understand to the best of their ability the details that they need and to have their questions answered. And by giving this opportunity of a life sentence, we hope that he embraces that moment. That had the death penalty been pursued, there would not have been an opportunity to be accountable and to give a full confession. And had the death penalty been sought, counsel would have fought for his life, the prosecutors would have been engaged in a multiple-year battle, the families would have been torn apart, this community would have had to subsidize it and endure it, and we have so much respect and gratefulness that that did not happen. We would strongly encourage Christopher Watts to give that full confession in the tone and in the timing that he thinks is appropriate with the guidance of his counsel. We feel that it would be appropriate and helpful to ease the pain and the suffering. But we also say we don't think that there's anything that he can say that will ever account for his behavior. There's nothing that can be done to cure the harm he has caused.
In a quiet suburban neighborhood, a family of 4 lived a life that appeared perfect to the outside world. Yet in the dark of the night, something far more unsettling was unfolding. Sean Ann Watts, a 34-year-old mother, had just returned home from a business trip. She would never make it to the morning. Her 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste, were tucked safely into their beds, or so it seemed. But as the hours passed, their absence would go unnoticed. No signs of struggle. No one knew where they were. No one knew what happened. Not yet. What could possibly drive a man to erase everything, his wife, his children, his life, so quickly, so completely? But the truth was buried deep, and it wouldn't stay hidden for long. When the phone call came in, the police were told a family was missing. The wife, Sean Ann Watts, her 2 daughters, Bella and Celeste, had vanished, leaving behind a father, Chris Watts, who was now the only one left to explain what happened. At first, Chris's story was simple: his wife had disappeared. She'd been gone for hours, and he had no idea where she went. But something about his words didn't add up. He was calm. Too calm. His eyes never seemed to show the anguish of a father who had lost everything. And the more the investigators dug, the more they realized this wasn't just a missing persons case. This was something much darker.
Right now around your house?
Right now it's got K9 units, the sheriff's department. Everybody's like they're doing their best right now to figure out like if they can get a scent, see where they went. If they went on foot, they went in a car, they went somewhere. And right now it's just like they've been on point. They're going through the house trying to get a scent, and hopefully they can pick something up to where it's going to lead to something.
What happened? Your wife came home. Tell me what's.
She came home from the airport 2 a.m. and I left around 5:15. She was still here, and like about 12:10 in that afternoon, her friend Nicole showed up at the door. Like I had texted Shanann a few times that day, called her, say but she never got back to me. But she wasn't getting back to any of her people as well, and that's what really concerned a lot of people. Is like if she's not getting back to her, like if she doesn't get back to me, that's fine. Like she gets busy during the day, but she didn't get back to her people, which was very concerning. And Nicole called me when she was at the door, and that's when I came home. And then walked in the house, and nothing was vanished. Nothing was here. I mean, she wasn't here. The kids weren't here. Nobody was here.
What's your wife's name?
Shanann, Shanann.
What's your kids' name?
Bella and Celeste.
How do you spell Celeste?
Celeste.
How old are your daughters?
4. Bella's 4. Celeste is 3.
And so, how many times did you try calling her?
I called her 3 times, texted her about 3 times just to say, what's going on. Like because after I called her and texted her once, it's like maybe she was just busy. Like she had just gotten back. Like everybody's probably calling her from her trip. She just got back from Arizona, and I figured she was just busy. But when her friend showed up, that's what it was like. It registered like, all right, this isn't right.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like I hope that she's somewhere safe right.
In just hours, his carefully constructed lies would begin to unravel. But was he the only one hiding something? Chris Watts sat calmly in front of detectives, repeating the same words. His wife, Sean Ann, and their 2 daughters, Bella and Celeste, were missing. He seemed desperate, but there was something off. No tears, no panic, just a flat, rehearsed tone. As the hours passed, investigators began to piece together his story, each detail revealing more than they expected. What happened behind those closed doors? How could a man so normal, so perfect, be capable of such darkness? In just 69 hours, everything would change. But how much of the truth could Chris Watts still hide? It was meant to be a normal day, but in the quiet of suburban Colorado, a nightmare was unfolding. Shannon Watts and her two daughters, Bella and Celeste, had vanished without a trace. The man who should have been their protector, their husband, their father, was now the one who would shatter their world. How long could a perfect family hide a monstrous secret? What really happened to Shannon and her children? And how did Chris Watts, a man who seemed like a loving father, become the prime suspect in a crime no one saw coming? The truth would emerge in just 69 hours. But how far could a man go to bury his darkest secret? It's easy to admire the picture-perfect life that Chris and Shannon Watts portrayed to the world. A family of 4, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Frederick, Colorado, appeared as the epitome of happiness. From the outside, they seemed to have it all. Chris, a 33-year-old father of 2, worked for Anadarko Petroleum, putting in long hours at the office. Shannon, his wife, a 34-year-old health consultant, kept their lives in perfect order, her career thriving, her marriage seemingly secure. Their 2 daughters, Bella, age 4, and Celeste, 3, were the joyful center of their world. Family vacations, school activities, and carefully curated social media posts depicted a life many would envy. But behind the facade of smiles and perfect moments, something darker was beginning to take root. Chris, though outwardly calm and quiet, always felt the pressure of expectations, both his own and those placed on him by society. He was a man who sought approval, the kind who hid his struggles behind a veneer of normalcy. His relationship with Shannon, while outwardly loving, had begun to show signs of strain. Though he didn't vocalize it, there was a deep sense of emotional withdrawal. His work, his family, his life, everything seemed to be slipping through his fingers, yet he couldn't express it. In a way, he had always been trying to fit into a mold that society dictated for him, the perfect family man, the father who never faltered. But the pressure was mounting. It wasn't just the daily grind of life, it was his growing dissatisfaction with everything around him. He was suffocating under the weight of it all. Chris's need to fit into the idealized image of a perfect family man was both his greatest strength and his greatest downfall. He spent years burying his discontent, pretending to be the husband Shannon needed, the father his children deserved. But as the years passed, cracks began to appear in the picture. He became more distant, more withdrawn, hiding behind social media posts that painted a picture of joy, even as his mind wandered elsewhere. Shannon, ever the optimist, tried to maintain the semblance of normalcy. She worked hard to keep the family life together, building her business while also balancing motherhood. But she wasn't blind to the changes in Chris. The distance between them had grown, subtly at first. Chris, always emotionally reserved, now seemed more removed than ever. The strain of their marriage became increasingly difficult to ignore. Chris's emotional withdrawal wasn't just a phase. It wasn't just the natural ebb and flow of a long-term relationship. It was something deeper. His detachment began to feel like a chasm, widening with each passing day. He spent more time at work, more time away from Shannon, more time avoiding the uncomfortable truths in their relationship. Meanwhile, Shannon, who had always prided herself on holding everything together, began to feel the weight of his absence. She was the emotional core of their family, the one who made sure everything ran smoothly, but the cracks were starting to show. She could sense that something was wrong but couldn't put her finger on it. Was it just stress? Or was there something more? The questions lingered, unspoken, as she continued to juggle the demands of her career, her family, and her marriage. Shannon's upbringing was different from Chris's. She came from a strict Italian family, where emotional expression was sometimes buried beneath the surface. Despite the challenges she faced growing up, she found a way to navigate them. She worked hard to build the life she had always dreamed of, one filled with success and stability. Her marriage to Chris, though seemingly perfect on the outside, wasn't without its complications. She had suspected, at times, that Chris wasn't being entirely open with her. Rumors of infidelity had surfaced over the years, but she pushed them aside, focusing on the good in their relationship. She had to believe that they could make it work. She didn't want to admit to herself that their bond might not be as strong as she had convinced herself it was. But, like many women who carry the weight of family responsibility, she started to feel the emotional burden of keeping everything together. She was constantly striving, but at what cost? Could she continue to shoulder the weight of the marriage while Chris distanced himself more and more? Despite all of Shannan's efforts to hold the family together, there was something missing. The emotional connection she longed for from Chris had begun to fade, leaving her questioning what was truly going on. She could feel the emotional walls rising between them, and though she tried to ignore it, the signs were undeniable. Chris's behavior had become erratic, his once constant attention had been replaced by coldness, detachment, and avoidance. He no longer seemed interested in their relationship, no longer interested in their family. And Shannan couldn't help but wonder if it had anything to do with the rumors that had been swirling for months. Was he having an affair? Was that why he had pulled away? The unanswered questions gnawed at her. For Chris, the pressure of trying to keep up the facade of a perfect life had taken a toll. He wanted to escape. He wanted a new life, one where he didn't have to be the person everyone expected him to be. He had begun an affair with Nicole Kessinger, a woman he met at work. She represented an escape, a way out from the life that he felt trapped in. She was everything Shannan wasn't, free-spirited, uninhibited, and unburdened by the responsibilities that weighed Chris down. The affair became a way for him to reclaim a sense of control, a way for him to feel alive again. But as the affair deepened, so did his disconnect from his family. He began to resent Shannan for holding him back, for being the reminder of the life he was trying to escape. He found himself resenting the very family he had once built. What Chris didn't realize was that his emotional withdrawal had been noticed long before the affair began. Shannan had already felt the change in him, and while she didn't know the specifics, she knew something wasn't right. It wasn't just the late nights or the emotional distance, it was the growing sense of unease. She was beginning to see cracks in the foundation of their marriage, small, subtle things at first. The silence between them had grown deafening. The love they had once shared had transformed into something cold and distant. And while Chris believed the affair would give him what he needed, he hadn't realized the damage it was doing to his family. He thought he could maintain the perfect image of a husband and father while living a double life. But the weight of his actions was becoming unbearable. Shannan, too, was struggling. She was exhausted from trying to hold everything together, from trying to keep up appearances while her world seemed to be crumbling around her. She began to wonder if Chris was simply a victim of his own choices, if the strain of their lives together had driven him to this point. Or perhaps there was more to it. Perhaps, in some deep, unspoken way, Chris had already checked out of their marriage long before the affair began. And as she carried the weight of her responsibilities, her suspicions grew. She knew something was wrong. But as she walked through the motions of her daily life, as she smiled for the camera and posted on Facebook, she had no idea how close they were to the edge.
A couple more people hop on here. And I kind of just wanted to, sorry, I just got out of the shower. I wanted to chat with you guys about lupus a little. It's been a rough morning. The kids drove me nuts today, and they just drive me nuts. Kids are fun. Both of them are not feeling too good, so they're super irritable, super cranky, so that's always fun. But I wanted to come on here because in honor of World Lupus Day, I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about myself. And it was just so much easier to share it live than via write it, because it would have been written forever. So over 10 years ago, I started losing a lot of my hair. I started having a lot of body aches, a lot of discomforts in my body, a lot of things that were limiting my everyday living. And over those course of many years, I was misdiagnosed. I was put on medication that was supposed to help me, and it didn't. So with that being said, 7 years ago, 2010, I went from me being a size 6, which was about 135 pounds for me, to going to a size 1/0, which was a good 20 pounds that I lost. And with losing all that weight in a matter of, I would say, 3 to 4 week period, I was also feeling extremely terrible, to the point where I did not want to get out of bed, literally didn't get out of bed for days. I finally drug myself to the doctor's office and made them do all kinds of tests. I wanted to know what was wrong with me. A part of me was changing. I went from being super energetic, super happy, just an all-around happy person. I loved going out and doing things. I loved getting together with friends. I loved working. Sounds crazy, right? So anyway, fast forward about 2 weeks, which was the first week of May of 2010 when they diagnosed me with lupus. From there, I was lost. I had no idea what in the world lupus was. Of course, we turned to Google, and what's Google tell you? Google tells you you're gonna die. So in theory, I was freaking out. I was overreacting. I had all these things going on with me, and I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea. Hi, Heather. So at that time, I reached out to support groups on Facebook. I reached out to wherever I could, to the Lupus Foundation of North Carolina, who really helped me tremendously with support and information and introducing me to other people that could help me. So fast forward several months. During those several months, I saw multiple rheumatologists, all of them telling me I had lupus, and then finally being diagnosed also with fibromyalgia, which is another autoimmune disease. So I completely lost it. I wasn't feeling good. I felt like I had the flu all the time. I felt miserable. I was put on all these medications, which then made me gain weight. So I went from being 135 pounds to almost 170 pounds within a 6-week period, which was a total shock and a total, sorry, I got a phone call. It took me to another level. At that time, I went to a little bit of a depression. I was really sad, emotional. All my emotions were everywhere, and I didn't know where to turn. And at the same time, my friend, a mutual friend of mine, sent me a friend request about 8 months prior for Chris, my husband, and I deleted it. I had no interest in dating anyone. I wasn't looking for a boyfriend. I was working. I was goal-oriented. I was a dreamer. I have always been a dreamer. I've always wanted everything in life to be perfect. So anyway, fast forward, in a dark place, all of a sudden I get a friend request from Chris. I said, what the heck? I'll never meet him. He's just a Facebook friend. I have a million of them. Nothing's going to come of it. Well, 2 weeks later, we finally meet on a blind date. From there, I couldn't get rid of him. I tried. He wouldn't go away. He was stuck. I drug him to a colonoscopy. I drug him to rheumatology appointment after rheumatology appointment. I drug him to my spinal tap, which was awful. A student did it, which I'm all for people learning, but not when it comes to a spinal tap. So that was really rough, and ended up falling in love with him. And so why I bring that up is I've learned a lot since I was diagnosed with lupus. I've learned a lot in the last 10 years. I've learned that there's a lot of things that life's going to throw at us to try to knock us down. But you got to do whatever it is to pick yourself up and move forward and try to bring the best out of everything. With my diagnosis of lupus and fibromyalgia all within a 6-month period, I lost my grandfather, just closed on my house. I had a lot going on. Emotionally, I was all over the place. I felt awful. Canceled dates left and right with Chris because I just couldn't do it all. And then we fell in love. I also met several friends through the Lupus Foundation. I met support from support groups, Lyme's disease support groups, Lyme's disease support groups, lupus, fibromyalgia, all of them. I've met some of my best friends today from those groups. And I don't think, like, I know I couldn't be where I'm at right now without a lot of them, who stuck by me, who supported me, who understood what I was going through, and never left my side. With that being said, my husband and I had two beautiful girls, very healthy kids, little baby monsters, as I call them. But I was told I couldn't have kids. So I have two beautiful girls that I'm truly blessed with every day, that I couldn't thank God for more. I moved to Colorado after meeting a friend of mine in North Carolina. After I nannied for her children, we moved out here after visiting, fell in love with the area. It's gorgeous in Colorado, minus today it's raining, but I still feel good. So, yeah, so we moved to Colorado. We created a life for ourselves out here. Chris found an amazing job that fully takes care of him. Anything he needs, he's there. They appreciate, they respect him, which is huge for any job that you have. And we love it here. We've made such an amazing group of friends that we call family, friends that are closer to us than some family, friends who are there for us better than some family. Truly, truly grateful for everything that has happened since my diagnosis. And I believe things happen for a reason. Things are placed in our life to bring us to the next stage of our life, good and bad. We just have to take all of it with us. And so when Chris and I got married, we dedicated our wedding to the Lupus Foundation. We asked all of our guests to donate to the Lupus Foundation instead of getting gifts for us. So many things that I've done to help support so many people that I love and care about that have autoimmune diseases, that have autoinflammatory diseases, that have multiple things that can debilitate you and take your part of your life away. So with that, I just want you guys to know a little bit of my story. A lot of you that know me know my story, not everyone. So in honor of Lupus, World Lupus Day, I'm rocking my purple eyeshadow. Do you guys see? I got my purple nails, or purple and pink. But I'm truly grateful for everyone that I've met since my diagnosis in 2010. Truly grateful for all the blessings. I try to look at all the positives out of everything that happens bad in our life, because that's all you can do. You can only look up instead of down. And I try to bring people with me, bring me up. I hope it makes sense. I'm kind of like emotional. It's just a lot, but I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for my girls. I'm grateful for all my friends watching, because all of you I've met through different people that have brought me here where I am today. So with that being said, I just wanted to say hello, and I wanted to share my story and bring people aware of lupus and an autoimmune disease that really takes a lot out of a lot of people and really affects a lot of people these days. It's a disease you can't see, you only feel it. And I choose every day to wake up, I choose to put my makeup on, I choose to put a smile on my face, because I am conquering my life, and nothing else is going to take my life away from me. And I'm going to live my kids, I want my kids to live a fun-filled, healthy, happy lifestyle, and I choose to not let the disease take over my life, because it's what I want. I did for a short period of my life, and it was a really bad place, and I don't want that. I want everyone who suffers from anything to know that there's things that are brighter and bigger for them out there, and to try to bring light into the negatives in your life. I love talking to people. I love helping people feel better, whether it's just being that person that you can vent to, or just sharing my story on how I've overcome a lot of my negatives in my life. So I'm truly grateful for all my new friends. I'm truly grateful for everyone in my life, my family, my husband, my children. Every day I thank God for everyone in my life. Let me know if you guys have questions, if you guys need to talk, if you would love to learn more about the Lucas Foundation.
The more Chris spoke, the clearer it became that the affair was not the sole reason for the murders. It was the culmination of years of repressed emotions, financial strain, and the unrelenting desire to break free. His need for control had taken over. He wanted a life with Nicole, and to get that life, he had to eliminate the obstacles. Shanann and the children were those obstacles. The more Chris spoke, the more he revealed just how far he had gone to silence everything that was holding him back. His calmness, his detachment, was a reflection of how far he had dehumanized his family. They had become nothing more than obstacles standing in the way of his new life. In his mind, they were expendable. As the confession continued, Chris revealed his internal conflict, but it was buried beneath layers of rationalization. He spoke of how he had felt emotionally detached from Shanann, how their relationship had crumbled over time. But there was no mention of the love he once had for her, no reflection on the family they had built together. Chris had disconnected himself from any emotional attachment to them. He didn't mourn the loss of his wife or his children, he mourned the life he had lost, the life that had been suffocating him. His need for freedom, his escape from the responsibilities of fatherhood, had consumed him. And as he spoke, it was clear that he wasn't just confessing to the crime, he was justifying it. But the question remained, was the affair truly the catalyst for the murders? Or was it a deeper issue, one that had been building for years? Chris's motivations were complicated. His desire for freedom had been simmering under the surface for far longer than the affair had lasted. The affair had been the tipping point, the escape he had sought, but it wasn't the root cause of his violence. It was the years of resentment, of feeling trapped in a life that no longer served him, that led him to the ultimate decision. He wanted control, and he wanted to escape. And in the end, he believed that killing his family was the only way to gain that control. The emotional weight of Chris's confession was heavy, but it wasn't the typical remorse one might expect from someone admitting to a crime of such magnitude. There was no deep sorrow, no reflection on what he had done. Instead, Chris explained his actions with a sense of inevitability, as though he had no other choice. His words were void of empathy, his rationale cold and calculated. The more Chris spoke, the more it became evident that this wasn't just about an affair gone wrong. It was about a man who had been trapped in a life he no longer wanted and who, in his desperation to escape, destroyed everything that had once mattered to him. This confession didn't come with the expected emotional breakdown. It wasn't accompanied by a flood of guilt or remorse. Instead, it came with a cold explanation of his actions. Chris wasn't confronting the weight of his crime. He was simply narrating what he had done. In his mind, he had justified the murders, and the twisted sense of relief he had felt in killing his family was enough to allow him to speak so calmly about the whole thing. For him, the act of killing was a means to an end, not the horrific culmination of his desperation. But as Chris's confession wound down, the investigators could see it clearly now. His motivations were not just about the affair. They were about years of resentment, financial pressure, and a deep need to escape the life he had built.
Without computers.
Exactly.
So you remember, I talked to you, Tammy talked to you, Dave talked to you. We're all from Colorado. And so the last time we talked to you was a different situation, right? Our investigation was open and your case was open. That's completely different now. So your case is completely closed. Nothing about what we're going to talk about today has anything to do with an open investigation. So we're not here to get more charges on you or get any statements from you that are going to jam you up anymore. Right? That's all done. So all of our cases are closed and the court case is closed. So there's nothing that we're going to talk about today that's going to get you in any type of trouble at all. And so I wanted to make sure you knew that's not why we're here. Okay. But why we are here. So the three of us work from three different agencies, right? Quite a bit different. CBI, FBI, and Frederick. different goals, and the things that happened with you kind of all brought us together. And as the months have passed on since everything happened, we just keep in touch with each other. We keep talking to each other, and we've all separately kind of said, did Chris seem unique to you? And me and Tammy have talked about this. Dave and I have talked about this. Did Chris's situation seem different to you? And we keep having that conversation. We can't quite put our finger on it, right? We think that your life leading up to all of the things that happened were very interesting to us. And for me personally, I don't know if you remember, but one of the last things you told me was, hey, Graham, I'm sorry that I started lying to you. And that stuck with me for the last couple months. It's been ringing in my head, right? I've never, ever worked a case like this where someone told me that, ever. And so as I walked away, I thought, Chris is different. Chris is a little bit unique in that regard. So in talking with Tammy and talking with Dave, I said, what did you feel like when it all went down? When we were there, we were talking to you guys, and we all kind of, in our own different way and in our own different wording, said it all happened a bit too quick for us, right? So when we saw you last, we were talking about your family, about your parents, about everyone. And then the next thing you know, for me and Tammy and for Dave, all of a sudden some patrol officers came in and arrested you. And that was far quicker than we had hoped it would happen. And you understand why that happened, and we understand why that happened. But it left us with 1,000 questions that we didn't get to ask. And then even more importantly, I think it probably left you with 1,000 things that you didn't get to talk about with us. I don't know if you feel that way or not, but, and so that's why we're here today. We wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit more about everything, I think there's a lot of things that you didn't get to talk about. And so, that's why we're here. And it sticks with me that to this day, there's not one person that's told me, I saw it coming. I knew Chris was like that. I knew it. Not one person. So it's interesting to me, right? Not one. So we want to talk a little bit about that. Some of the people that we work with, your family, Shanann's family, have said, if you get to talk to Chris, would you tell him some things for him? So we have that to talk about today, and it's good. I think you'll like it. I think it will give you some closure. And so really that's why we're here. Are you available to talk to us?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So off the bat, if you have any questions, just tell us.
Okay.
If there's something that you don't want to talk about, that's okay. Wouldn't that press you a little bit? Okay, you might say, well, do you mind if we just maybe then ask one question? If something makes you uncomfortable, just tell us. If we need to take any bathroom breaks, we can take bathroom breaks. For anything like that. And we'll take bathroom breaks and water breaks ourselves too. So then, is there anything about your schedule today that makes it that you can't talk to us?
No, there was like a pass for this in the AM and the PM.
Okay.
They reserved the room the whole day,
Oh,
just
okay.
in case.
That's just what they do.
Okay, I didn't know if that was like 2 separate things or something.
I think you have to go back for lunch to get counted for or something.
Oh.
Accounted for.
Yeah, I think
11:30.
Yeah, lunch is like 11, but they're down like 12:15. So
So in general, how is it here?
it's a lot different in Colorado.
Is it?
Good or bad?
It's better, I think, because it's here. I'm actually around other people. In Colorado, it was just like I was segregated, and there was like counting on the walls all night, screaming, and just telling me
From other people?
Oh,
Really?
they're just telling me like how I should kill myself and like what they're gonna do to me, and just like all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
it was today. This is a lot different because people here don't seem to. It's not like they don't care, but it's just kind of like they don't like judge you as soon as you walk in. In Colorado, it was like they knew why I was there, and that was it. They were just like they had 1 second on hold of me. It would have been
Really?
they were, yeah.
Gee, man. Must be out then.
out of like Floyd County Jail. I don't know what it was like in DOC there, but they had to lock down the jail for me to walk down the hallway.
Wow. It will? So they had to make sure you were completely separated from anyone else. Gee.
Wow.
Like I didn't see anybody else there. Like I was still next to somebody, but like I never saw them.
You just hear them.
How did they know who you were?
I don't know. I just, they make phone calls in there too.
Oh, okay.
And they got the newspaper in there before I got in there, so.
Yeah. Have you been able to talk with family?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, we get, from 6 p.m. to 7:30, that's our my unit's not out, so we get to use the phone at that point in time.
Really? And do they charge you for it, or?
Oh, it's just like, it's like Secures or something.
Okay. And how do you make money to pay for that?
They put money on the phone.
Oh.
So if I call, like, if I was like to dial somebody's number, they have to have like a phone account set up.
Oh.
It's so restricted.
And then so who you call pays for it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Have you been able to talk to like family members and parents and all
Yeah,
that?
my mom and dad, my sister.
Okay. Good. Is that a good thing?
That's a good thing. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't hear from me. They're like, "Oh, what's wrong? What's going on?"
Oh, good. And how is it with them?
And so far, so good.
Yeah. Yeah. It was hard to hear your parents at sentencing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were gonna say. So
Yeah. And so, yeah, I really appreciated what they said. I don't know about you.
I definitely was. I didn't expect them to be there. So I knew they were there on the 6th. I'm sick, but I didn't expect them to fly back, and I wanted to fly back for that.
Yeah. And then what we all said.
Definitely.
Good. Well, so we have 1,000 questions. I'm sure you do too. Do you care if we start, or do you have any questions for us?
Go ahead. We'll start.
All right. So one of the things that we're battling with is, and I won't make any assumptions today. So, are you aware that this was a national story?
After a little while, I didn't talk to my parents while I was in Colorado.
Okay.
Because, my attorney team told me, all right, no phone calls, no letters, no nothing. So, like, I made one phone call when I was in the segregation area there, but my dad thought it was like somewhat like a news.
Oh.
I trying to call.
So he didn't answer?
Yeah, so he didn't answer, but other than that,
Okay.
I didn't talk to anybody, but from what some of the deputies were saying that, for my attorney team coming in and say, this is like, they've got people from Australia, England, and all kinds of people trying to figure out what's going on. So,
Did they send you any other letters, like fan mail or anything? Well,
I got letters, but I couldn't keep them with me, so like I could read them like on my hour out. But it's like I got a bunch of just letters that had no return address and stuff that was just not very good letters.
Yeah.
So
okay. They came from a weird perspective, didn't they? From what we had heard.
definitely, there was one person, I guess, from Broomfield that was like writing like 4 times a week trying to come visit me, and then there was just a lot of people like writing that was like lead through markers saying like you're a monster, or all kinds of crazy stuff.
Well, we're going to talk about some hard issues today, but I don't intend to take you to a dark place today.
Okay.
I hope that when we're done, you'll feel better. I hope it'll be therapeutic. We're going to talk about, obviously, what happened with your family. So that's going to be hard to talk about. I appreciate anything you can tell me about it. If you need to take time out, if you need to get a tissue, that's fine, right? I think it'll be very good for you. It'll be good for us. And so one of the reasons I asked about that national attention is we were aware that you were getting a lot of letters, a lot of interest, and then us personally as law enforcement, we got so many people who claim to have known you, claim to have been with you, dated you.
Chris had chosen to silence the people who had been his world, not because of love or passion, but because they were the barriers standing between him and the freedom he so desperately sought. His family, in his eyes, had become nothing more than obstacles in the way of his freedom. As Chris's confession concluded, the weight of what he had done hung in the air, but the emotional impact of the confession was muted by Chris's coldness. He had killed his family, and yet he showed no signs of remorse, just a strange sense of finality, as though he had simply closed a chapter of his life that he no longer wished to be part of. For Chris Watts, the murders were not a breaking point, they were the culmination of his need for control, freedom, and escape. And in that moment, he showed the world just how far he had gone to achieve that freedom. The world was left in shock. The details of the crime, once shrouded in mystery, were now laid bare. How could someone so normal, so seemingly loving, commit such unspeakable acts? Chris Watts, the man who had presented himself as the picture of a devoted father and husband, was now exposed as the cold-blooded killer of his wife and children. His calm demeanor, the quiet facade of a man living the American dream, made his crimes all the more horrifying. The public reaction was swift and intense. News outlets flooded with coverage, social media exploded with outrage, and people everywhere struggled to comprehend how a seemingly average man could shatter the lives of those closest to him. The narrative quickly shifted from a tragic disappearance to one of the most chilling murder cases the nation had ever seen. The media were relentless. Chris Watts, who had been viewed as just another man in the neighborhood, became the focus of unrelenting scrutiny. People couldn't understand how someone so familiar could harbor such a monstrous side. How could the man who had shared family photos, vacation snapshots, and heartfelt social media posts about his perfect family be capable of murdering them in cold blood? The public's disbelief fueled the intense media coverage, and soon, the entire nation was captivated by this dark tale. The more they learned about Chris's actions, the more questions arose. Was he a monster who had carefully hidden his evil nature, or was he a man pushed to the brink, driven by a series of emotional and psychological pressures? Could his actions ever be understood, or were they simply the result of something deeply, irreversibly wrong within him? The moral debate around Chris's actions raged in the media. Some saw him as a calculated monster, someone who had taken the lives of his wife and children without a shred of remorse. Others, however, tried to understand the complexities of his actions. Could a man who had been living a life of secret emotional isolation and resentment really be held entirely responsible? Was the affair, the financial strain, and the emotional neglect truly enough to drive someone to such a horrific decision? Or was there something deeper in Chris, something that had been simmering for years and was only waiting for the right moment to emerge? The question lingered in the public's mind: was Chris Watts a monster, or just a man lost in the throes of his own failures, desperately trying to escape a life he couldn't bear? The trial brought these questions to the forefront, but it also brought the raw pain of the victims' families. The legal proceedings were a painful reminder of the irrevocable loss that had been inflicted on Shanann's family, the Rzuseks. The courtroom became a place where grief collided with the cold reality of justice. As Chris pleaded guilty to the murders, the emotional weight of his actions hung in the air. The families of the victims, who had been left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, were forced to confront the man who had taken everything from them. The pain was unbearable, and the courtroom, once a place for legal proceedings, became a space of raw emotion. Shanann's family, devastated by the loss of their daughter and grandchildren, were finally given the chance to speak, though nothing could undo the damage Chris had caused. Their words were filled with sorrow, anger, and disbelief as they looked at the man who had ripped their family apart. The courtroom was not only a place for legal decisions, but also a place for public reckoning. As Chris stood before the families of the victims, the weight of his crime seemed to grow heavier. His actions had stolen lives, leaving a void that would never be filled. But even as Chris admitted to the murders, he remained detached, almost cold. His confession was not accompanied by the remorse one might expect from a man who had just confessed to the unthinkable. Instead, it was a detached, almost rehearsed explanation, as if he were simply telling a story he had long prepared. For the families in the courtroom, there was no catharsis, no moment of redemption, just the hollow reality that the man they once knew had destroyed everything they held dear. In the aftermath of the trial, the emotional toll was far from over. The families, though they had found some semblance of justice, were still left to pick up the pieces of their lives. The psychological and emotional scars would last a lifetime, and even the guilty plea could never heal the pain they felt. Shanann's family, especially her parents and children, were left to grapple with the loss of their loved ones. And for Chris, the legal consequences were now inevitable. Yet, even as the judge sentenced him, there was something cold and final in Chris's demeanor. He showed no signs of regret, no emotional breakdown, just the same calm that had characterized his actions throughout the investigation.
And I can have you folks introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Cindy Watts.
Ron Watts.
Thank you. And I have authorized you to make a statement to the court as paternal grandparents be children. And if you choose not to make a statement, but your designee, Ms. Powers, chooses to, she can do so as well. How would you like to proceed
Can I
today?
read that? Yeah, do you want me to start? I want you to start, but I would like to read
Who's
that.
going to be speaking today?
Your Honor, initially, they've asked me and they're hoping that they have the strength to speak, but if they do not, they've written out their statements and asked me to finish for them. So
That would be fine. Who would like to go first?
if I could start, Your Honor. On behalf of the Watts, Your Honor, and to the community, we thank you for the opportunity and the recognition under the Victim Bill of Rights. We come today as the grandparents and the parent of the daughter and children whose life was taken in this case. We are not here to ask for leniency. We are not in any way condoning or tolerating the crime that has occurred and the pain that has been caused. We join in our daughter-in-law and grandchildren's family in saying this should never have happened. This is not condonable. This is something that we will never get over. We appreciate the consideration that everyone has paid, most especially the families that have lost everyone. We appreciate that they begged for Christopher's life. We agree and echo what they have said, that it is not his place to take anyone's life, nor would it be our place as a community to take his life. So we thank you for the opportunity and for every consideration and effort that's been put out. The prosecution in this case has in fact respected the Victim Bill of Rights. They took the time to explain that the information that my clients had at the time that they were interviewed was not correct. They were misinformed. They were searching for answers. They were not intending to cause any pain to anyone. And they appreciate that the prosecution answered their questions and gave them the time and the respect and the consideration so that they could tell this court and everyone in this community that the interview content was not their message, that they accept that their son has done this, that they accept that he chose to plead guilty, that he sought and requested their consent and agreement for a life sentence. They appreciate that he is given the opportunity to serve that life sentence. It is his responsibility, it is his sentence, and it is not enough to make up for what has done. We understand and we join the family in that we have questions. We don't know how such a thing could possibly happen, or that a man that was responsible for raising his children and protecting his wife would take the steps that he did, and that he would disregard their bodies and the love that he had for them and they had for him and everyone else, and take the gestures and put this community through the investigation and the discovery and the responsibility of bringing justice. We do not understand that. We do not think it was appropriate. We cannot begin to think that an explanation will ever justify it. My clients indicate that they understand that a full opportunity for a confession with all of the responsibility and accountability has not occurred. And they support the family and the request that that happen, if not today, at an appropriate time, in an appropriate manner, so that everyone can have peace, to understand to the best of their ability the details that they need and to have their questions answered. And by giving this opportunity of a life sentence, we hope that he embraces that moment. That had the death penalty been pursued, there would not have been an opportunity to be accountable and to give a full confession. And had the death penalty been sought, counsel would have fought for his life, the prosecutors would have been engaged in a multiple-year battle, the families would have been torn apart, this community would have had to subsidize it and endure it, and we have so much respect and gratefulness that that did not happen. We would strongly encourage Christopher Watts to give that full confession in the tone and in the timing that he thinks is appropriate with the guidance of his counsel. We feel that it would be appropriate and helpful to ease the pain and the suffering. But we also say we don't think that there's anything that he can say that will ever account for his behavior. There's nothing that can be done to cure the harm he has caused.